And thank you everybody for being here today. Um, so we'll talk about Tonglen meditation, but I wanted to start out just having all of us arrive doing a little bit of loving kindness meditation or metta meditation. So get comfortable in your seat. A few relaxing breaths. And just maybe look at your screen, see all of the people who are here. Just feel a little gratitude that we're all here today. And now think, may we all feel safe. Everyone who's here today. Just send out that wish for yourself, for all of us here. May we all feel safe. May we all feel peace. May we all feel free from suffering. May we all feel happiness. Just take a minute or two to just continue whatever wishes you have for all of us here. May we all feel safe. May we all feel peace. May we all feel free from suffering. And may we all feel happiness. And then as you're able today, take that wish and extend it out a little bit further. Maybe everyone in your home, everyone in your community. And then just sense it for every sentient being, every living being. May we all feel safe. May we all feel peace. Just feel that spreading out all over the world, all over the cosmos. May we all feel free from suffering. May we all feel love. And then with a sense of gratitude for everyone coming here today to do compassion meditation for themselves and everybody around, we can come back to the room. And just continue feeling appreciation that all of us here want happiness for all the rest of us here. Well, welcome again. Part of Tonglen meditation, I'll check in a little bit to see who's done it already, but let me ask now, who here has done Tonglen meditation? Okay, several people here. Well, today it is going to be sort of intro to Tonglen, and loving kindness meditation or metta meditation is one aspect of it. And it can be so beautiful and so healing, so helpful. But I know sometimes for me, especially in some of the work that I've done with hospital and hospice, where there's just so much grief, so much suffering, or sometimes when I feel angry or upset about something, loving kindness meditation is wonderful, but I need that open heart. I need something to help me more keep my heart open and keep that courage. And I think it was Pema Chodron who had said that loving kindness meditation awakens your compassion and keeps your compassion, but Tonglen awakens your courage and builds on your courage so that despite all the suffering that comes up, you can keep your heart open. And one of the things that I know that it's done for me is help me notice my resistance to pain, resistance to difficulty. And when I notice that resistance, usually a tightness in my chest, then it helps me to remember to do Tonglen to open that up. And I found that Tonglen sort of breaks down my attachment to myself and builds up this quality of fearlessness and courage. So today, I wanted to just tell you a little bit about how I got into Tonglen, and then give you some brief instructions, and then we'll do about a 15-minute Tonglen meditation. And this meditation goes into a lot of detail so that you can learn some different nuances with Tonglen meditation. And then for those of you who aren't comfortable with it, it will give you enough practice and enough examples to then do it on your own. And after that, I'll give you a little bit of history about Tonglen. We'll learn how to do Tonglen on the spot, which is what I do most of the time. And then if there's time, I'll talk about a little bit of research around Tonglen, and then we'll have another on the spot Tonglen meditation. Okay. So about 2 decades ago, I was fortunate enough to see Pema Chodron teach in the Boston area. And so based on her teachings and what I'd read, I learned Tonglen meditation. And I had this job where I was a training consultant at a big corporation. So I had to go into these meetings where various teams were supposed to work together, but basically they were just battling it out all the time. And I was supposed to be there, not so much to participate, but to notice where communication problems were, notice where people were missing training, things like that. And the meetings were so horrible that I think, why am I spending my precious human life in this? And once I learned Tonglen, it just occurred to me one day. I just looked at all the people around me and I thought, wow, she just had twin babies, but she doesn't have leave to take off and be with her babies. And this person is middle management. They're talking about budget cuts. He's probably going to be gone. And I just went around the table and my heart just opened to all these people that a moment ago I was so angry with. And it clicked, oh, I could do Tonglen for them while I'm sitting here. And so I did, and I felt so much better. So for several weeks, I did Tonglen in these horrible meetings. I ended up enjoying the meetings then. And one day I was walking down one of the long corridors, and two of the managers they were coming towards me, and they said, "Hey, Daphne, you're going the wrong way. Our meeting is this way." It's like, "Oh, I don't go to any meetings I don't have to go to, and I don't have to go to that one." And they said, "No, when you're in our meetings, we're nice to each other now, and we get things done." And that just floored me. I mean, I was spending this time just minding my own business, doing Tonglen, and I didn't notice so much the huge shift because it just became a part of me, this sense of peace in the room. And I had no idea that anyone else noticed any shift. So it was very powerful to me that these people noticed that when I was in the room doing Tonglen, that's the only thing I was doing differently, that they noticed a shift in how they worked with each other. And I don't know, for me, I didn't, there's no magic or anything like that. For me, there's just something, a shift in energy in the room that they noticed. I don't know. I can't quite explain it. But that's, for me, was something that's like, okay, I don't always do things that are good for me, or I do them and then I stop. And this was sort of a message to continue Tonglen and to look into it a little bit more. And then that led to many years later, realizing that there hadn't been research in Tonglen. And so I did one of the first studies for Tonglen meditation to see what effects it might have. So I just want to check in with some of you. What experiences do you have with Tonglen, or what do you know about Tonglen, or what would you like to learn about Tonglen today? Oh, Jessica?
Hi, thanks for having me. Thanks for your being here and sharing your knowledge and experience with us. I have done Tonglen a couple times in workshops and things like that. I regularly do a metta practice, a Buddhist metta practice. So Tonglen, I don't know much about it, so I'd like to learn a bit more.
Okay, thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to share their experience or anything that they'd like to learn? Mark?
I just learned about it from a Pema Chodron talk, and she touched on it for a little bit, and it seemed very, very interesting. So when I saw that you were going to be here, I had to come.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, Pema Chodron is a powerhouse for Tonglen meditation. She's one of the main people for, I don't know if it's been 3 decades, I know it's been at least 2.5 decades of getting it out in the mainstream, because for a long time it was considered a secret practice. And a lot of people, even with my research, they said, you can't do that. You can't teach non-Buddhist, non-meditators Tonglen. This breathing in the darkness, it'll freak people out. And so for a long time, Tonglen was something that teachers just taught to a few students at a time. But over the past, actually a few hundred years or more, it's been more common to teach it. It's been more commonly incorporated into other Buddhist practices. Okay, thank you. Yes, I saw the chat. Thank you. So we'll just jump in. I'll give just a few instructions, and then the rest of the, when we're going through the meditation, that's about 15 minutes, the instructions will be embedded in that as well. So this practice goes back about 1,000 years. And I love thinking about that, like all the ancestors who've been doing this for 1,000 years, and then it came to little old me. And so many of the rest of us, it just, it amazes me and fills me with gratitude. And there are 3 parts to Tonglen. Different people teach it a little bit differently, but there's usually 3 parts. One is similar to metta meditation. But as I said, for me, Tonglen helps when I'm just overcome with strong feelings and need to know what to do with them and need to keep my heart open. And some people will say things like, I had to close off my heart, or I just really couldn't be present. I feel like I just shut down. But when we shut down like that, then we can't be there for ourselves and other people. So Tonglen is a heart opening exercise. So the first thing is we see a problem around people, or many problems. We don't have to know the problems. We know that everybody has difficulty in life. So we can just make it up. If we have a problem, other people probably have similar problems. So don't worry, am I getting it right? Maybe they don't really have a backache and I'm giving them a backache. It doesn't work like that. We just know that people are having difficulties, and we can see dark clouds or smoke or tarry substance, whatever works for you. See that person in front of you. See that they have this darkness around them. And then we breathe that in. And the past several decades, there's been this idea, especially in certain spiritual traditions, that you don't want to bring in other people's suffering because it'll get stuck in you. That's not how Tonglen works. We bring it into our heart. We let it break our heart open and realize that our heart is so vast that it can hold everything. But for those of us who aren't quite there yet, we can also transform it in our heart. And some people will see like a sunflower or a fire or a magician or something in their heart that when it comes in, you bring the darkness into your heart, that will help you transform the difficulties that this person is having. And then send out, this is where the loving kindness comes in, send out anything that this person could want. And it can be safety and happiness and freedom from suffering, but it can also be a cup of coffee to get them going in the morning. It can be hugs from their kids. It can be a puppy running up to them. It can be a new heart. It can be anything that you can think of. And when people really get into this practice, sometimes they'll offer everything they have. I'll give you my house. I'll give you my money. I'll give you my heart. We're not really doing it as in reality, we're not doing that. But in our heads, we are willing to offer that. But we don't have to go that far. We can just be willing to wish them anything that they need from the universe. Just send that out. Okay, so we see the problem, we see the smoke, we bring it into our heart, and then we transform it, or we just let it be in this open spaciousness of our heart, and then we send out anything that they want. So we aren't playing God here. It's not like when I was in those meetings, I was saying, okay, you all are going to be nice, and I'm going to do this and make you nice. That's not the point. If you notice that because you act different, other people act different, that's wonderful, but this is for us. So when we're wishing someone a new heart, we're not saying this is going to happen. We don't want to be attached to outcome. But we're keeping our heart open, and we're being willing to take on the suffering, and we're willing to offer everything out. A couple of tips. Don't worry if you're not a visualizer. I'm very good at visualizing, and I tend to focus on that. But there was one person I was working with, she said, I can't visualize. I'm an auditory person. And what she did was, she was a musician. And she hated it when things were off key or discordant. And so she pictured, instead of black clouds coming in, she pictured like someone banging pots and pans. That was her black cloud. And then she sent out beautiful music to them. So however you can do it. If you're a chef and you go by scent, do that. Whatever works for you. If you're a visualizer and dark clouds don't work, try smoke, try tar, anything that's dark. Unless you're Wednesday Addams, which I heard that they're bringing out a new program about Wednesday Addams and the Addams family, then, she might want pink at the beginning for suffering, but we're going to work with dark, whatever is dark for us, bring that in. If, as I said before, if it doesn't feel safe at the moment to just bring darkness in, you can use something to help you transform, like the sun, a magician, fire, a flower. And then as you send out, it can be white light, it can be color light. You can see the individual things, coffee and hugs, however you want to do it. If my narration is too fast, just stick with whatever works for you. I'll say breathe in and breathe out in the instructions. Do it at your own pace, because I might be giving in instructions and I don't expect you to hold your breath. Just continue breathing in and out. And then sometimes you might have your visualization last for 2 or 3 breaths. That's okay. A lot of instructions say do this on the breath. That can be too fast for a lot of people. There are also a lot of, over 1,000 years, there's a lot of teachings. And there are teachers who say, don't worry so much about the breath. Just do that exchange, exchanging self for other. Sending out and taking in. Don't start with the hard stuff. Start with easy things till you get the hang of it. And at any time, you can put yourself out front. If you picked something that was too hard, just stop and put yourself out front, see the clouds of your own discomfort, and take care of yourself that way. So any questions before we get started? Okay, so I'm going to put up a PowerPoint. It'll have a screen that you can look at if you want to, but I want to get some distractions of all of us sitting here. And I know some people don't feel comfortable having other people look at them while they're meditating. Okay, can everybody see the presentation? I see a couple thumbs up, okay. So this is just a recap. We'll be doing a 1,000-year-old practice, breathing in the suffering, letting it break through our ego clinging, and then sending out happiness and the causes of happiness. Okay. So get in a comfortable position in your seat. Again, this will be about 15 minutes or so. Sit with your back fairly straight. And your eyes can be closed or open and looking down with a soft gaze, whatever feels most comfortable. And feel your back supported, your seat supported. You feel the sensations where your thighs rest against the seat of your chair or your cushion. Maybe feel the floor against your feet. And as it's comfortable for you, taking a deep breath. Let it out. And then take 2 more breaths at your own pace. And remembering that there's no real right or wrong way to do this visualization, as long as you keep the general process and the atmosphere. If you're comfortable resting in a sense of open awareness, you may rest in that now for a few moments. I'd like to begin by connecting to a sense of loving kindness. And you can bring to mind a loving person or animal or spiritual being from your past or present who has at some time in your life wished you deep love and happiness. That happiness doesn't have to be unconditional, just deep and warm. You could see a person like a teacher, an aunt, an uncle, or a friend. You could see a saint or maybe a beloved pet. And if you want, you can even just feel a loving energy. Whomever or whatever you choose, feel their wholehearted love and kindness flowing into you like warm sunshine. Feel them wishing you the deepest peace, the deepest well-being, the deepest joy. Breathe in this wish like sunlight, letting the beams of loving kindness and well-being fill your body. And know that you are loved. And know that the source of this love is boundless. If at any time in the future you feel that you need more love, just return to this image and know that the source of love and kindness flowing through you now is endless. So as your heart fills with love, warmth, peace, and well-being, maybe just imagine yourself sending those feelings out from your heart to others who need to feel comfort and joy too. Remember, this supply, this love, this warmth, this open-heartedness is never ending. You will never run short as you share this loving energy with others. And now dissolve the visualization and just rest a few moments in a sense of vast, open peace and well-being. So now bring to mind a person you care about who is suffering or unhappy or has difficulty in some way. Maybe they have an illness or a physical discomfort. They may be going through a divorce, afraid they'll lose their job, wonder where the money's coming from. Maybe they have a bad back or just lost someone close to them. As you think about this person that you care for, notice all the difficulties in their life. And now see each aspect of their suffering as a dark, heavy cloud. This person may even have several dark clouds all around them now. You care about them and want to rid them of all their clouds and bring them happiness. So remembering that you will never run short of the love you generated a few moments ago. Without fear, breathe in the dark, heavy clouds from your loved one as if you're vacuuming them up with your breath. And as you breathe in the cloud, notice that it touches any shell of fear or self-cherishing or any protective walls that may surround your heart. But as soon as the cloud touches your heart center, your heart opens to the cloud of suffering with loving white light. Any walls or feelings of fear just fall away. Every single particle of that dark cloud is transformed into healing, loving light. Just as turning on a light completely transforms a dark room. Every bit of pain and suffering that you breathe in is totally transformed and then sent out on the exhale as healing and happiness. Breathe in and watch your loved one as the dark cloud of discomfort or despair leaves him or her and gets breathed into your heart to be transformed. And if you want to use a specific image in your heart to help with the transformation, like a fire, the sun, a saint, or a giant flower, that's fine. And breathe out, sending this person the light rays of healing and anything you have or can imagine that might make this person happy. Breathe in the dark cloud of their mental or physical pain and fear. Watch as every last bit is transformed in your open, loving heart. And breathe out any type of healing and happiness this person could want. You can see it in the form of light rays. You might send them freedom from pain. Send them the love they never got from their parents. Send them a new house, money, a hug, a cup of tea. Send them a deep spiritual life. Send endless love and healing. Continue to breathe in the dark cloud on the inhale. Watch it being transformed in your heart and then send it out on the exhale as endless gifts of healing and joy in the form of white light. As you do this, imagine the person you care about beginning to smile. See joy come to their face as the suffering leaves their body and mind and enters your heart to be transformed. Allow yourself to feel joy at this transformation of the person you care for. There is no end to the transformation and healing that's happening in your heart and in your mind. Continue to breathe in the cloud of suffering. Transform it and breathe it out as light and healing gifts. Notice your heart becoming more and more open, and your loved one feeling more and more amazement and joy. Breathe in, transform, and breathe out at your own pace for a few more moments. And now that you know that the transformation and healing light are boundless, you can bring to mind 3 or 4 more people that you care about who are suffering in some way. And one of these people could even be you. If you'd like, you can imagine yourself standing with the other people you care about. Look at each face. Acknowledge their suffering, their discontentment, their hurt. Doesn't matter if the problem is big or little. Just notice the dark clouds surrounding their unhappiness and breathe that into your heart. Watch your heart transform the cloud into everything, every healing thing that these people could want or need. And send that out to them with radiant white light. It doesn't matter if you know exactly what they want. Just send out anything that you could imagine them wanting or needing. Even things as simple as a hug or a bouquet of flowers, or as big as a new heart or a renewed faith in something. Breathe in the darkness. Watch it transform 100% in your heart. And breathe out healing light. There's no end to this healing light. It's fed by the transformation of the suffering which happens in your own heart. So breathe in the dark, heavy clouds. Transform every last particle in your heart. Nothing remains. And as you exhale, send happiness and healing. As you breathe in and out, watch all of these people stand up a little straighter and smile bigger and find a happiness that they haven't known before. And as your confidence grows and you are ready, bring to mind more people, if you'd like even 10 or 20 of them. Even though those you barely know, like the cashier at the grocery store, the person at the next gas pump, strangers you just passed by yesterday or today. Just like you, all of these people have known suffering, pain, and disappointment. And just like you, they want some kind of happiness, but don't quite know how to get it. So even though you don't know how these people are suffering day to day, see dark clouds surrounding them. Breathe the clouds in, knowing that no matter how many people you see or how many clouds you inhale, your open heart will always be able to transform it all. Every particle of the clouds will be transformed, delivering everything to each one of those people, whatever they could want or need. Breathe in the cloud of their suffering. Transform it in the vast, open kindness of your heart. And exhale all of the love and happiness and possessions that everyone could possibly want. You can send out chocolate, music, flowers. See everyone being hugged. See them being raised by loving parents. See them having enough money. Picture them with robust health. Maybe even see them playing with puppies and kittens. Just see them wholly content, happy, loved, and loving. Imagine that whatever you send out makes everyone happier, healthier. Watch all of these people stand up straighter and become more joy-filled. There's no end to the transformation in your heart and your mind. So now that you've gained some confidence, maybe even bring to mind someone you dislike a little at the moment and add them to the group. This person too is suffering, and this person too just wants happiness but doesn't know how to get it. So breathe in their suffering with everyone else's. See it transformed in your heart, which has room for everything, even them. Breathe out kindness and anything that might ease this person's suffering, as well as the suffering of everyone else in front of you. And remember, if at any time you feel discomfort during this process, see yourself in front of you too, and transform your discomfort along with everyone else's. You can even just focus on yourself for a few moments until your discomfort has been transformed into a sense of love, safety, or anything else that you might need. Breathe in, transform, and breathe out at your own pace for a few moments. And now, one last time, expand the number of beings who are suffering to include all the people, animals, birds, even insects in the world who are suffering or unhappy in some way. The suffering may seem endless, but so is the transformational ability of your heart, the courage of your heart. So breathe in all of the discomfort of the world. See it enter your heart. But the unclinging love in your heart has the power to transform this suffering and this contentment into everything anyone could possibly want or need. Breathe out wish-fulfilling light to all beings in the world. There will always be enough love and kindness in your heart. Breathe in the dark, heavy cloud. Transform it in your heart. And breathe out the white light, sending it all around the world to all beings, again and again, feeling everyone becoming lighter and more joyful. Do this at your own pace, while visualizing this amazing transformation for yourself and all beings. And now dissolve the visualization and just rest in a vast sense of open-hearted healing and love for yourself and everyone else. And we dedicate any benefit this practice has generated to the deepest safety, peace, and happiness of everyone who, just like you, just like us, wants to be happy and live in peace, but doesn't quite know how to do it. And now notice your feet on the floor. Sensation of your thighs against your seat. Your back being supported by your chair. Take a deep breath in and out. And when you are ready, bring your full attention back to the room and take a moment to stretch and feel some appreciation for all of us here who did this amazing meditation together. So I just want to take a moment here to see, for some of us, we may be still resting in that empty spaciousness. But for some of you who are new to this, are there any questions that came up for you while you were doing this practice? Or for those of you who've done Tonglen and this is a little bit different, any questions that come up? Jessica?
The visualizations I find more challenging. I know you brought up it's like work with it with what you have. And just want to make sure it's like I don't need to use visualizations. It could just be just prompts within me.
Yes. And nowadays, Pema Chodron has made it very simple. But it's simple. I think it's simple for people who've done it before. But she talks about, even if you don't visualize, maybe just sense in your body this dark, heavy yuckiness. And then send out or feel this lightness and have that wish for everybody. She does work on the breath, but if it's not the visualization, then it's the physical sensation. And you don't have, if you can see the person in front of you, but you can also just sense that they're there. It works. Any way that works for you, and you notice that your heart is staying open in challenging situations, then you know it's working.
Thank you.
Other questions or experiences or anything you want to check out? In a few moments, we'll do on the spot. On the spot Tonglen is what I do the most, because you can do it in a moment, wherever you are. 15 seconds can make all the difference in the world. And thank you for those of you who've put something in the chat. It can be hard for me to read and acknowledge at the same time, but I appreciate your comments and contributions. Okay, so I want to then just tell you a brief history of Tonglen. So the roots of Tonglen are attributed to Shantideva, who is sort of crossing centuries here, so 7th or 8th century philosopher, monk, poet at Nalanda University in India. He also liked to cause trouble. And the text, we'll see in a moment, the text that has the roots of Tonglen, he supposedly just said it. He was asked to teach. He was considered a lazy student, a lazy monk. And to sort of get back at him, or to test him, try him, they said, please come and give a teaching, sit on the high chair. And they expected him to fail. And he just brought out this beautiful teaching that then became what we now call the Bodhisattva way of life. And part of that, one of the sections in there that is considered the roots of Tonglen, one of the earliest roots is where he says, "Do not be downcast, but marshal all your strength. Take heart and be the master of yourself. Practice the equality of self and other. Practice the exchange of self and other." And so here he doesn't go into exchanging on the breath, taking all of the suffering in, but he does talk through his teachings about being willing to take on other people's suffering. And the things that he writes in the book, they're not totally new. There's the idea of the bodhisattva and how to be a bodhisattva before Shantideva. But Shantideva brings so much of these teachings together and then brings parts, people hadn't phrased it in terms of equality of self and other, practice exchanging self and other in the way that he did before. So after Shantideva, little is known from about the 7th or 8th century to the 11th century. Not much is known about how Tonglen developed into the practice that it is today, or how it was disseminated. It was, like I said, it was often as a secret teaching, just from teacher to student. But in the 11th century, Atisha, who's famous for spreading Mahayana and Vajrayana Buddhism all around Asia, he brought those teachings from Shantideva, including Tonglen, which was then, when he brought it to Tibet, it was a full-blown Tonglen practice. And he did that in the 11th century. And also the text, the Bodhisattva Way of Life, became a major source of Bodhisattva ethics and training in the Mahayana Buddhism, and then especially in Tibet. And in Tibet, there's, you might have heard of Lam Rim practices, the stages of the path to enlightenment. All that comes from Atisha, bringing all these teachings together. And then Atisha's student in the 11th century also started the Kadam tradition or Kadampa tradition, which is one of the Tibetan schools. And also there were the Lojong practices, which are now sometimes taught separately and sometimes combined with Lam Rim teachings. And in most versions, the Lojong practices have 59 slogans for practicing on the way to liberation. And now, usually it's the 7th one. There are different Lojong teachings, but often it's the 7th one that says, sending and taking should be practiced alternately. These two should ride the breath. And also in the 37 Bodhisattva practices, which then the Lojong practices got started about 100 years later after Atisha. And then the 37 Bodhisattva practices, which were part of a famous Lojong text, came together in the 14th century. 11 says, sorry, it's blocked on my screen. The practice of all the bodhisattvas is to make a genuine exchange of one's own happiness and well-being for the suffering of others. Since all misery comes from seeking happiness for oneself alone, whilst perfect Buddhahood is born from the wishing for the good of others. Okay. And I need some compassion for my screen right now because it is not switching. Here we go. So there's a lot of Tonglen teachings out there. There's a wonderful book that I don't have with me right now, but it's super thick. It's almost like, I think almost 2 inches thick. That's called Mind Training. And it has many, many of the early teachings of Lojong and Tonglen in it. One of the teachers, a 13th century Tonglen scholar, Chim Namka Drak, said he taught Tonglen before introducing students to the ultimate teachings. He believed that when the practitioner is able to exchange oneself for other, he or she could then meditate on emptiness. Now, there's been a huge debate, as I mentioned at the beginning, I think, that some people said keeps Tonglen secret because of the breathing in of the darkness. If you don't have a deep understanding of emptiness, people will be too fearful. And so there's a group of Tonglen teachers who said don't teach it until people are very close to liberation or very far on the path. But there's a whole other realm of teachers who said, teach it at the beginning because it is such a powerful practice for compassion, for courage. And if you have that, that's going to help you on your path to liberation. So the Tibetan Buddhist scholar in the 19th century, Jamgang Khantrul, said he reminded beginners that by training in Tonglen, the relative compassion would arise and ultimate awakening mind would be realized in that naturally in time. And then Pema Chodron, who, as I said before, is most responsible for popularizing Tonglen in the West, said breathing in is the kindest, most compassionate, most loving thing that you can do for yourself. It is opening the heart. What is breathing out? Same thing. Opening the heart. So any questions or comments before we do our Tonglen on the spot? Okay, so for me, I love doing Tonglen on the spot because you don't need anything. You don't need time. You don't need a cushion. You don't need the perfect circumstances. You don't even need to feel suffering yourself. It can be when you're standing in line, if you're not doing shopping online, even if you are, maybe do it while you're shopping online. But anywhere you are, while you're pumping gas, while you're in the grocery store, you can do Tonglen on the spot. You can notice your own discomfort. You can notice your annoyance at someone around you. See yourself in front. See the clouds around you. Notice your annoyance. Feel it if you're not a visualizer. Breathe that in and send yourself out peace. Send yourself out compassion. And then in that moment, think, just like me, so many others are feeling this now too. And then bring those to mind. Okay, so we'll do that together. For me, I found 15 seconds can make a huge difference, but we'll do it maybe for a little bit longer than that. And again, I'm going to bring up a screen. Okay, so check in with yourself at the moment. Notice what's going on inside your body, your sensations, your emotions. And pick one thing. Maybe you're sleepy. Maybe you have a backache. Maybe you're anxious about something later on in the day. Just pick one thing. And imagine yourself in front of yourself. See that tiredness, that ache, that discontentment, that anxiety as clouds around you. And breathe that in. A lot of times we don't breathe in our own suffering. We block our own suffering as well as other people's. So work on keeping our heart open to our own discomfort. Breathe that in and then transform it into white light and send that out to ourselves. Wish yourself feeling awake and enlivened. Wish that the pains are just sort of relax in our body. Wish ourselves a happiness instead of annoyance. And then when you get the hang of it, just think, just like me, so many other people in the world are feeling this right this moment. Maybe it's the person next to me. Maybe it's people around in my neighborhood. And one by one or all at once, just imagine the whole world. Sometimes I see a flat map and all the continents, and I just see people popping up on that map, just like me. So many other people are sleepy right now. Just like me, so many other people have backaches right now. And just like me, so many other people are anxious or stressed. Just breathe in the clouds, you and everybody else. Don't leave yourself out. Transform it. Just feel your heart opening, just breaking open and staying open. Sending that love and happiness to everybody you see in your mind's eye around the world. And then notice yourself, just even a little smile. Just notice the you in front of you, a little smile. Notice the people around the world relaxing a little, smiling a little. Even if you don't know it's making a difference in the world around you, it's making a difference in you. And as you make a difference in you, you'll make a difference in the people around you and in yourself. And so just notice a sense of gratitude that you have this practice. And then as you're ready, come back into the room. Any questions or comments about on the spot? One thing that people have said, have asked is like, can you do this if someone cuts you off in traffic and you're so angry? And one of the things that can help, do be careful doing this driving, but once you get the hang of it, you can do it driving. Just be careful. Don't close your eyes if you're a closed eye meditator, of course. But one of the things, when you feel that flash of anger, when someone cuts you off or does something stupid, and your first thing is like, how could they do that? Just this anger, that flash that comes up. You can do a couple of things. You can put yourself in front of you on the steering wheel and feel that anger and breathe that anger in. Don't shut yourself off to it. Don't say, oh, I shouldn't be feeling angry. I'm not a good Buddhist or whatever. It's keep your heart open and breathe in that anger. It's like, of course you're angry. You could have died. They could have hit you. Of course you're upset. It's natural. Breathe that in and send yourself out calm and peace. But you can also put the driver in front of you on that steering wheel. And just make up reasons. They don't have to be real reasons. Make up reasons. They have to get to the hospital. They've been late 20 times to work, and if they're late again, they're going to be fired. Anything you can imagine, put them on your steering wheel, see the clouds, breathe those in, and then send them relaxation. Send them time, send them a compassionate boss. Because what we're doing here, we don't have to know what their suffering is, we just know they are. If they weren't, they wouldn't have done that. And we're keeping our heart open so we don't go right into judgment, right into anger, right into the poisons. And we can see a way around these emotions that come up in us. So I want to just mention a little bit about some of the research around loving kindness and Tonglen meditation. So before about, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, there was almost no research on compassion. Actually, when positive psychology started, which people said positive psychology is ridiculous, don't waste your time. They're telling the researchers that, focus on the negative things. Fortunately, there were researchers and psychologists that wanted to focus on the positive. And shortly after positive psychology started as a field, people started looking at compassion. And they could look at compassionate people, but there wasn't a lot out there to raise compassion. There weren't a lot of practices that people had. So loving kindness meditation started to be the main thing that people used to see if levels of compassion could be raised. So there's lots and lots and lots and lots of studies out there. But there's not a lot about Tonglen. And even when I did my research, I was still being told, don't do it, because it's going to be too scary for people, that they can't do it. So most of the articles that are out there are self-reports, not studies. And a lot of the studies that do include Tonglen are usually part of a multi-part protocol, including other types of meditation too. So you can't tease out exactly what role Tonglen plays. One place that's done a lot of research on compassion is the Stanford Center for Compassion and Altruism Research and Education, known as CCARE. And if you go to their website or Google some of their research, it's really inspiring. So I love seeing that Tonglen is used, but it's, as I said again, it's hard to tell exactly what part or what role Tonglen plays in that. In the compassion research, the good news is that compassion is malleable. We can change it, we can increase it, we can decrease it, and it's self-generating. So we can think about increasing compassion and we can raise our levels of compassion. And when they've done studies, people with high levels of compassion also had increased levels of social connectedness, resilience, well-being, perspective taking. And that's one of the things that for Tonglen that's really helpful, because sometimes my perspective can be very narrow when I'm triggered by something. But with Tonglen, especially when I think, oh, so many people just like me, they're feeling this way, all of a sudden my perspective gets so wide. And I can see other ways other people are engaged or dealing with this issue too. Higher satisfaction in life, a decrease in pain, a decrease in depression, and decrease in feelings of isolation. So anything that we can do to raise our level of compassion will help so many areas of our life. But at the time, they were looking at people who already had high levels of compassion, but there weren't that many techniques until people started doing loving kindness meditation. So this is a study that I did, and it's still one of the very, very few studies on Tonglen, and some of the others are even smaller. But my question was, can Tonglen be taught very quickly? Because a lot of the protocols were being taught over 6 or 8 weeks with an hour a week of class and like 30 to 60 minutes a day. And the average person doesn't have time for that, especially if they don't know that, if they're not feeling the benefits right away. So could it be taught quickly to non-meditators to increase compassion with very little practice time and no need to be Buddhist? So my study, I had 53 people. Most were female, and there's a large mix in age, mix of levels of education. A lot of them were Christian. A lot of them were spiritual. I didn't want people there were a couple of people who were Buddhist, but they weren't really practicing. It was more Buddhist because of their family. So all in all, the people just practiced around 45 minutes in a week. So there was a few minutes of instruction, a longer Tonglen meditation, and then on-the-spot Tonglen. And then I asked people to do on-the-spot Tonglen for 30 seconds twice a day for 6 days. And then we did another longer Tonglen. And then after they understood that, then I did pre and post tests. So I did a quantitative section and a qualitative section, looking both at the numbers and at what people said. And don't worry about the numbers here. This over here is just saying that the results weren't random. But the main scale I looked at was the self-compassion scale, because at the time it was the main scale out there that had been shown to be valid and reliable. So the whole scale score, if you just look at the test as a whole, people's levels of self-compassion went up significantly. And again, this is just, for the most part, doing it 30 seconds twice a day for a week. And then there are 6 subscales: self-kindness and self-judgment. So self-kindness would go up, self-judgment would go down. Common humanity, your idea of connecting with others, would increase while isolation would decrease. And the sense of mindfulness, a more open mindfulness over being self-identified and thinking so much about oneself and not paying attention to what's going on out there. So in general, with just very little, like over a week, 45 minutes, the whole scale score, all the scores that were supposed to go up went up, and all the scores that went down went down. And the ones that went down the most were the ones that you would think before you'd have huge increases in self-kindness, you would want huge decreases in self-judgment. So we do see greater amounts in this week, and I only did 1 week, of less self-judgment, less sense of isolation, less over-identification, but with increases of all the other scales as well. There were several interesting things. I'm not going to go through everything in this study, but we don't have time. But it was very interesting because participants who were under 30 or under 40 seemed to mature more quickly and catch up to older adults. Now, one of the things, most of the people in the study, they already had fairly high levels of compassion for other people. They were in helping fields like education and healthcare. But the younger people had the greatest jumps in common humanity, in going from self-centeredness to more openness. They had a new understanding of kindness towards others, and they were less identified with their own difficulties and more emotionally balanced. So all the participants went up in those things, but the people younger than 40 had even greater increases, which I thought was very interesting. And also mindfulness increased. And one question at the time was perhaps some people have difficulty with mindfulness being silent. For some people, this may be an entryway into mindfulness practice because you are doing something with your mind, with your thoughts. It's an active way to create a sense of mindfulness. But even more than the numbers, what affected me the most was when I heard people's stories. And after a week, and these were people I didn't know, who just out of the kindness of their heart agreed to do this study with me. There was one woman who had struggled most of her life with an autoimmune disease. And in 1 week, she said she had less pain, more energy, and better sleep. She said she was amazed at the change in my feelings of self-kindness for myself. And I think that's where she hated herself. She was angry at her body and herself for this disease, but she believed that as she felt kinder towards herself, then she felt less pain. Her heart was more open. She had better sleep. There was a woman who was so angry at her neighbors. She felt they were destroying her life. She said Tonglen was really hard at first. And some people, especially the transformation part, feeling that you've really transformed, or you've really let the darkness be in this expansive spaciousness, it was hard for her. But she realized in just a week that she saw that it wasn't about changing her neighbors, but it was about working on her own anger. And she felt real mental and physical relief, and said that she was much more mindful of her reactions, and that the whole process was a huge eye-opener for her. 2 people said they started doing Tonglen daily with their spouses. Another person said it was the first time she felt communication improve in her marriage in years. And again, she didn't make her spouse do anything. She did the Tonglen to keep her heart open to the situation, and that allowed her to be more open in the marriage, which allowed more open communication. And there was a man going through divorce, and I checked to make sure that nobody was going through a crisis at the time. This man had been going through a divorce for years. So it wasn't a huge crisis, but it was something that took a lot of his energy. And he said Tonglen helped him feel the goodness in others and himself, and even his ex-wife, and get perspective versus being swallowed up by darkness, despair, or hatred. So that was just very impactful to me, because I'd heard people talk about Tonglen. I did Tonglen, I heard Pema Chodron and others, but to have someone who had never done the practice before and wasn't even a meditator, to have some experiences was very touching to me. And also any of you who love research and would like to do something, the field is wide open in Tonglen. So go for it. We need more research on it. Comments, questions? We'll end in a little bit with another on the spot. Valerie?
Do you have any recommendations for a guided meditation that I can go to continue the practice?
If there are a lot of Tonglen meditations out there now, you can probably go to YouTube, go to mindfulness apps. I forget one of the main ones out there. I can't think of it right now. But there are a lot of Tonglen ones out there. You can find Pema Chodron does them. Okay. There's several of them. Lion's Roar, if you subscribe to that, it has a whole booklet, a little booklet with several articles on doing Tonglen. And it comes at it, different teachers come at it from different perspectives. And it's really beautiful reading it and seeing how other people present Tonglen. I also have a recording. I mean, I'm guessing that this recording is going to be put up. I also have a recording of what I just did, if anybody's interested, and I can look for more recordings. I don't listen to them anymore because I just do on the spot myself, but they are out there. And there are some that are, now that you know how to do the practice, it's a lot more simple. They'll just do a guided breathe in and breathe out.
Daphna, can you send, can you let me know where we can find your recording, and I can email that out to everyone?
Okay.
Send it to me, or?
Sure, I'll do that, thank you. Okay. Also, you can do Tonglen for anything. You can do Tonglen for environmental issues. And you can do it for your own anxiety and frustration. You can do it for the environment itself. You can do it for people, lawmakers and others who aren't doing what you want them to do with the environment. You can do it for illness and fear around illness, So anything that you can think of, Tonglen is good for. And just so you can be as creative as you want to. Okay, so let's do one more on the spot. We started with loving kindness meditation for everyone here. Let's do some Tonglen for ourselves and everybody here. So I'm guessing everybody here has something. We don't necessarily have to know what's going on with everybody, but everybody came here with a curiosity for doing Tonglen. Everybody has some stressor, something is going on. So just take a few moments, look at each person here. And just imagine a white cloud or a pressure in yourself, smoke, whatever works for you, around each person here in this room. And then remember, we're doing this for courage. We're not doing it for magic. We're doing it to keep our heart open, to build courage in ourselves. So with courage, let's breathe in the darkness, the heaviness of anything that's going on with all of us today. If you can just let that darkness be and rest in a vast opening, your heart as vast as the universe. You can do it that way, or you can transform it in your heart. And then send out healing, whatever healing you think we all might want today. Breathe in, transform, and breathe out. Make sure you include yourself. You can even play with it a little bit. Some people are in Colorado and having a lot of snow right now. You might send them sunshine and warmth. Some of us are here in LA and we haven't seen snow in years, so maybe send us some snow to play in. It's serious and it's playful. It's empty and it's meaningful. Now we'll send out just gratitude to all of us who are here today. Gratefulness for our courage, our curiosity. Grateful for the work we do in the world. And that's our dedication today. Thank you.